an ace jack.
Instagram. You folded an ace, right?
I voted ace jack.
You folded an ace. That was what it's tough.
I figured you were on a big draw.
Yeah, so that's why it's so
difficult. Would you have 10 jack of spades?
I had 10 of spades. Yeah, it made it harder for me because I knew you. It was obvious you folded an ace.
What's obvious to other people is never obvious to me.
Well, Trickett was right on a couple of counts. He knew Cats had an ace, and he was right not to bet on the river. All right, to one of the outer tables, recent bracelet winner Doug Polk opened shoved with a short stack and a suited ace before Phil Ivey called with pocket nines for almost 20% of his stack. So Polk looking to improve, to stick around. He picks up an 8 in the flop, but still needs more help.
If anyone knows what's on Phil Ivey's playlist, please tweet Kara Scott at KaraOTR.
Ivey adds a gut shot. Polk still looking to improve now or never.
Polk needs an 8 or an ace, or he is whamboozled.
The river card is a 7. Ivy Rivers a meaningless 9 high straight. Doug Polk's run in this $1 million buy-in is done. 17th place and no cap. So with Ivy's knockout of Polk, the players will take a break. We are now down to just 2 tables of 8. Tom Hall still leads, but Antonio is fewer than $1 million behind Coleman and Ivy, the only other players above $10 million.
3 businessmen amateurs in our top 8, and we still have a comedian, a car dealer, and a venture capitalist looking for the big payday. Plus, of course, Daniel Negreanu.
Winning the big 1-for-1 drop changed Antonio Esfandiari's life in 2012. Is it possible his life will change again?
It was just smooth last time.
But the hand everyone will remember saw aces collide pre-flop.
Save your money, kid. You can't win every pot.
You can breathe now.
16 remain in the big 1-for-1 drop. $15 million to the winner. For Norman Chad and Kara Scott, I'm Lon McCarran. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Done in with queens again. Greg Merson knocked out of this one-drop tournament by Rick Solomon. Welcome back to Las Vegas for our coverage of the big 1-for-1 drop. 42 players found an extra $1 million lying around and bought into the richest tournament in the world. Hi everyone, Lon McCarran with Norman Chad and Kara Scott. A staggering $15 million goes to the one-drop champion. Kid Poker Daniel Negreanu is signing autographs.
I used to do that, but once I signed a prenup without knowing it.
Bill Ivey doing what he always does, raking in pots.
But would it kill him to win a no-limit hold'em bracelet? My man never has.
But Eric E-Dog Lindgren's one drop is over. He won his way in via satellite, but came up short of the money. 23-year-old Daniel Coleman looks serious, but has serious chips too.
Smile, kid. Smile. Life is good. Trust me.
So Coleman sits atop the leaderboard. He's got 2 Brits right behind him, and Tom Hall and Sam Trickett. Connor Drynan is in 8th.
Trickett and Antonio Esfandiari went heads up for this title 2 years ago. Could it happen again?
Trickett, if you can win the first orbit, you get $500 from me.
500. You were
It's a
such
nice little free roll.
one nit.
It's a free roll.
$500.
You've already won the first. You've already won the first 2. I do that all the time.
Who bets $500 these days? It's at least a dime, right?
Fine. Fine. You can. It's not a bet. It's just a free roll.
Right.
Fine. You get a dime.
You know it's a poker player when he turns down a chance to win $500 with no risk. High-stakes poker pro Scott Siever has the second shortest stack at the table, but is still in good shape overall.
He's had great high roller results over the years, Lon.
Sam Trickett has over 100 big blinds.
He's got position on Antonio, plus he doesn't care about $500. He's poised for a deep run and for $15 million.
I told him.
What happened?
I just cut my foot open and they requested for me to have it clean, but it's just a little bit of blood leaking, right?
You're just bleeding everywhere?
Not even. Like a little bit dribbled out of the cup.
All over the pitch?
Sam dropped a jar of ranch dressing on his foot and cut it. Ouch, he needs some official TLC. 4 chips in play, $5K, up to the $250,000 size purple chip. Action on Kerry Katz, local businessman. Ace-9, into the muck. And there's our defending champion, Antonio Esfandiari. He won't play 7 deuce off.
With the foot? This is the perfect
and our
time.
chip leader.
I believe Trickett was reaching for his wallet to tip
Just
the
let it go.
EMT.
Okay, I will.
Only in
On the
Vegas.
show, what I'm folding.
Yeah, show him that you're folding that.
He does fold on the button. Rick Solomon, 6-5 of spades.
Solomon's an only in LA guy. What a life.
Part-time Hollywood guy, part-time poker player. Rick Solomon has over $7.6 million. He raises to $175,000. Folded to Connor Drinan, who also got into this event on a satellite, along with Eric Lindgren.
And he won a satellite into last year's $111,000 one-drop high roller. Finished 11th with $300,000.
My last table here was much more talkative, Antonio. I thought you'd be...
No, I'm getting warmed up.
Okay, good.
I'm coming, don't worry.
There was...
Don't worry.
No, you should know better, Scott. You should know better. He saves all his best lines when the big pot's happening. Then he knows it's going to make.
Because he knows they're going to make it.
Man. Do you not know that?
He creates his own TV moments, I thought.
When it's just a single raise play, he's not going to say a word.
Yeah.
Two healthy chip stacks to the flop. 7, 9, 10. A pair of 10s for Drinan, but a straight flush draw for Solomon. They both check it. Turn card is a king. King's up now for Drinan.
I would bet top two here, but then again, that's just me.
Some of the best I've ever heard. No. The unspoken words.
Drinan, pondering your advice and considering its source.
Both Galfon and Isaac would give it less than 4.5. He did not take the
Wait, he made a joke?
Connor is reaching for chips. Born in Chicago, now lives in Vancouver. Bets $215,000, and Solomon comes along.
I probably would have bet my straight flush draw on the flop, but that's just me.
River card now. Jack of diamonds. That's third diamond on board.
You would have to pay me a lot to go to a stand-up comedy show of Noah Schwartz, Phil Galfond, and Isaac Axton.
Yeah, it would not be funny.
That would be a tough
There's
comedy
nothing funny
show.
about that.
I would still prefer to listen to
Drinan
Noah
checked
over
it.
those two.
It's amazing how they can still keep their mind on the game with this cacophony that happens so often around a poker player.
Oh, I think it's...
And that is about a 425. Solomon bluffing at it.
The conversation is good, but this bluff is even better. Solomon's playing the board line. The board is just king high.
In my opinion.
Drinan is kings up.
4 cards straight out there. Backdoor flush came in.
Suddenly things get serious at this featured table. Drinan and Solomon have taken center stage. Connor folds the best hand. And Solomon shows it.
What do you show? 5-6?
Wow. Face.
You see that?
Scum does not lose 2 pops.
I love the bluff. I don't love showing it.
It was like 10, Jack, 9. Queen.
That's a rule of Scum you should have known, actually. The man does not lose 2 pops in a row.
Scum malicious. You touch these boys. They don't know. They don't know about the scum.
They don't know.
They don't know.
I mean, I do know already. I've been here 5 minutes. I feel like I know.
You've learned?
I've learned.
You've learned.
This guy lives the high life, and he wins with 6 high.
Rick is a bit of a mystery man. He does play in the high-stakes games in LA and Vegas, as you mentioned, but he's most known for his relationships with Paris Hilton, Pamela Anderson, and Shannon Doherty, and others.
Of course he played himself on Entourage. Who else was going to play him? Tony Danza? This guy's a one-man industry, and I don't even know what the industry is.
Pretty audacious payouts here at the one drop to the top 3. $15 million up top. Only 8 players will cash. Our defending champ, Antonio, with ace-4 offsuit. Under the gun, he'll fold. Sam Trickett, the big stack at this table with over $11 million. Ace-5, worthy of a raise to 160.
You can feel the heat from here.
Rick Solomon, 9-8 of clubs.
You know, I see that hat and that beard, and I'm thinking Serpico.
He makes the call. Seaver folds to Drinan on the button. Connor looks down at 10-8 of hearts.
Drinan, like Phil Galfond and Doug Polk, lives in Vancouver playing online. And at the moment, he's doing his best David Doc Sands impersonation.
Man, it's hot up here.
That's the pressure. That's the pressure getting to you, kid.
A lot of pressure.
It's only 68 degrees. So
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, 160.
Drinan, 25-year-old, wants to play with Rick again. He calls.
When Scott Seaver's in a poker game line, it feels more like happy hour at Buffalo Wild Wings.
That's the second pair.
The blinds fold, so 3 to the flop, all looking for help. And here we go.
I wouldn't have been able to let it go.
And Solomon gets help with trip 9s. Trickett drawing less than dead. He checks. Solomon checks.
Well, they both check, and if I've got Drinan's hand, I would bet here, but that's just me.
2 pair for Drinan. He's reaching.
He's going to bet.
Somebody had.
He can't win the hand.
Somebody had to bet. 260,000. Trickett folds.
If someone bets into my trips and I look like Serpico, I check raise here, but that's just me.
Well, looks like it's just you and Rick Solomon. There is the check raise, 760,000 total.
Well, if I were check raised by a mystery pseudo-celebrity who hasn't worked a day in his life, who just bluffed me, I'd call here out of spite. But that's just me.
Drinen wondering, what is he up to? Well, a non-believer. He calls for $500,000 more.
That's a bad call. He can't win.
All right, turn card heads up. 7 of diamonds. Both players now open-ended with the same straight draw. And Rick, with some of those tasty purple chips in hand, so worth $250,000 each. That's a $1 million chip bet.
I have no more advice to give, Lana. I'm exhausted.
You've used it all up this early in the season? Drinen now with the top pair, and of course the 9's on board. Why wouldn't he think his hand's good? He cuts out 4 purple chips as well. And they're in the middle now. Over $4.1 million in this pot. River card, ace of diamonds, a 3rd diamond on the board. Solomon checks quickly.
Maybe Drinen can turn his hand into a bluff now. But something tells me Solomon calls most bets here.
He checks back.
I got 9.
And the 9 for trips will take the pot.
Nice.
Solomon picks on Drinen again and moves up the chip ladder.
Yeah, I think Rick hated that diamond, but he still takes in the $4 million chip pot. He's in 4th place overall.
There's a ring to it. Like Solomon, one-drop champion. Like, it just doesn't just sound right. Also, this place needs some giant banners of you in it that they can never take down. Come on. It'd be actually incredible.
4th and chips, only 21 remaining. It could happen. The 2014 World Series of Poker Big One for One drop is dealt by the World Series of Poker social game on Facebook and mobile. Sit and go tournaments are starting right now. Are you in? Welcome back. During a break, our Kara Scott caught up with 2012 One Drop champ Antonio Esfandiari.
Day 2 here for the one drop, and it's a little bit of deja vu maybe for Antonio. What does it feel like to be in this position yet again?
Feels amazing. It's a rush that I haven't really felt before. I know what it feels like to win this tournament, and it was incredible. And to this day, I've always wanted that moment back again because there's no rush like that. You know what I mean? And I wish I could go back and like seize it longer. You know what I mean? And so let's do it again. I think it'll feel even better than the first time, right?
And you've got a lot of people here watching you, and they are saying they're not here if you win, they're here when you win. So good luck out there.
Thank you very much. You remembered from 2 years ago.
I do.
I have to correct you.
As Antonio dreams of going back-to-back, the dream of winning this year's event ends for 8-time bracelet winner Eric Seidel.
Frankly, he's never really recovered from that beat Johnny Champ put on him to end the 1988 main event.
So Antonio closer to returning to the final table. Action on Noah Schwartz, Florida Pro with a World Series bracelet. Also WPT and EPT titles.
Triple crown.
Yeah, that is true. King 10 and a raise to 180,000. Kerry Katz in the small blind folds to Antonio in the big 8-7 off.
He's got 3 bracelets, 2 WPT titles, but no EPT.
Antonio calls for 100 grand more. Why not? Here's the flop. Heads up with Schwartz. 10, 6, 9. Nice one for the champ, flopping a 10 high straight.
It's good to be Antonio. It's not good to have top pair.
Schwartz with top pair and a good kicker. Antonio not going to slow play this. Bets 205 into the original razor.
Schwartz finished 52nd at the 2013 main event. He has a degree in finance from Florida International University, which always sounded like a fictional college to me.
Got to think that Noah likes his hand. Plus, he knows Antonio is capable of playing any two cards, so you never know what he's up to.
I'll even sometimes like randomly obsessively just do this. Than anyone else.
Schwartz taking his time with this, though.
A little bubble usually.
Now puts in calling chips. Turn card now. Deuce of clubs keeps the status quo.
Of course, a deuce on the turn. Never changes anything, anytime, anywhere. Esfandiari with a stranglehold on this baby.
If Antonio were analyzing this, I guess he would say you have to keep your story consistent.
It's interesting that he's trying to keep his story consistent. I never believe a word he says.
That's true. 405,000 and a nasty look from Schwartz.
Well, Schwartz knows the deuce of clubs is a benign card. He certainly might think that top pair is good here.
Noah's flummoxed.
All in. Call.
All in. Drawing dead. Never good.
He's reflummoxed. You know, when you move all in, get called, and are drawing dead, it's a bad day at the office, Lon. Plus, you're paying $1 million rent at this office.
And just like that, Noah Schwartz sees all of his chips become the property of the Big One defending champ. Out in 20th place.
Sorry about that.
What an awful feeling for Noah Schwartz to be drawing dead, but still commit all your chips to the pot. That win pushes Esfandiari into second place as he and his globe-trotting partner, Dad Bijan, continue to dream of another win.
They know.
If I'm Antonio, I'd never stop smiling.
I knew you had something.
Antonio Esfandiari running good in the big one, just like always. 19 players remaining. There'll be a complete redraw when we get down to 16. Daniel Coleman still the chip leader. Scott Seaver with Jack 8 suited raises to 190,000. Kerry Katz on the button. Fold 7 tray. Pocket fives for Antonio in the small blind.
The day before one drop, Antonio drove up to Mount Charleston, about 45 minutes from Las Vegas, took a long hike, meditated, and visualized winning. Maybe that stuff works, though it works even better to get good cards.
A re-raise from Antonio to 505. Trickett in the big blind. Trickett is tricky, but he's not tricky enough to play those cards. He folds. So it's back to Seaver, also a member of the Triple Crown Club.
Scott scares me when he looks like this, Lon. I half expect a Hannibal Lecter moment.
He's usually so happy at the table, but you're right about that. Seaver seriously calls for 315,000 more. All right, here's the flop. King 8 king. Seaver pairs his 8 for the lead. He's got kings and 8s. Antonio, kings and 5s. Antonio reaching for chips again. Almost half the pot, 510,000.
Perfect bet sizing, Alon. Anything under 500 I don't like. And if you bet 540 or 550, then your hand just looks weak.
It certainly has thrown Seaver for a loop. Scott with the best hand right now. And commits calling chips.
Antonio seems a lot more relaxed than Scott at the moment.
Turn card now. Another king, both with kings full. Seaver's boat is bigger. Antonio checks.
Antonio slows down. Scott channeling the Godfather before a big Corleone family decision.
Seaver checks back. Okay. River card, very interesting. And another 8. So Seaver's been counterfeited, both players with kings full of 8s.
That's a ridiculous card.
Antonio, first to act. Seaver getting more serious now. Antonio checks.
Well, if Seaver checks, they'll just chop it. If he bets, well, all bets are off.
Antonio now curious. Why the delay, Scott?
I'm all in.
Scott Seaver says all in.
Well, of course, if Antonio calls Scott's all in, they'll chop the pot. Is it worth $2 million to Antonio to find out if Scott has a king or a pair bigger than eights?
Antonio started the hand with almost $12.5 million. But folds, and Seaver with an excellent all-in bet on the river will take the whole pot.
Let's make sure they see this.
I thought I had it, though.
The highs and lows for Antonio. He flops the nuts, then gets bluffed on the very next hand. A strong play from Scott Seaver, one of the best in the game. Back at the Rio with the new high roller in the distance, the world's largest observation wheel. And we're looking at Hong Kong Tom Hall on the left with friend and 2013 November Niner J.C. Tran. As we learn, poker isn't Tom's only diversion away from his day-to-day business.
My passion for rugby really started when I came to Hong Kong. Even though my family